could Render hypothetically reach the price of $150 in 2025? Even though nothing I say is financial advice, I could very well see a scenario where that does happen. And the reason is because, historically speaking, as a worst case scenario, altcoins, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And keep in mind, the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then would actually mean around October this year. That's still plenty of time. And no, it's not a surefire date, it's not a guarantee, but the way to take a look at it is that, if anything, could very well indicate that, again, hey, maybe this bull run, there could still be a ways to go, at least the upcoming peak of it. Now, the way to take a look at it is this. When I view 2021, it was a very special year. But keep in mind, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. Now, according to Crypto.com research, there's over 600 million. So could you imagine just how much more dynamic this bull run could be? And I think that, if anything, for me at least, indicates that, hey, I don't think we've seen the peak yet. I mean, how could we? With those bullish factors, with the Bitcoin ETF, with the Ethereum ETF, with the number of institutional investors, with the amount of enterprise adoption, I believe that wasn't really the peak. At least I have a hard time believing that. And also something that I think is going to greatly benefit Render, at least even for right now and also moving forward, is the upcoming hypothetical potential of what the Solana ETF in Canada could very well bring to the whole space overall. Because Canada is a very amazing country. The GDP back in 2023 was around $2 trillion. And again, Solana is very amazing. And as we all know, when it comes to Render, not too long ago, the community voted to build a network on Solana, whereas previously it was Ethereum. So of course, I think anything that's going to benefit Solana or anything good news when it comes to it, I think is indirectly, or should I say somewhat directly, going to affect the sentiment and also the whole vibe of something like Render, which is why I do like Solana, and also a major reason why I like Render as well. I think Solana is just arguably much more dynamic than something like Ethereum. Solana, very low gas fees, is very scalable. However, even besides that point, why is $150 my price target for Render in the first place? It's because I think Render is a very special project. Sure, it's not the most interesting or the most cool project out there, but I think it gets the job done, and I think it's very wonderful because we have to keep in mind that Render, it gives the ability for individuals to provide unused GPU power to help projects render motion graphics and visual effects. Now, we have to take a look at what is GPU. GPU is graphic processing unit. However, even besides that, this is unused GPU power. And again, they have the ability to contribute that, again, unused GPU power to help projects render motion graphics and visual effects. So that's very amazing. You know, the idea is very genius when it comes to this because it's unused anyways. So it's amazing, right? It's like, for instance, if I had, 10 homes and I'm of course only living in one and then there's like 9 remaining, wouldn't it be beneficial for me to rent it out? That's the way to take a look at it. It's kind of like in this case, right? Unused GPU power. Now we have to take a look at as well. When it comes to Render, they're quite essentially, allegedly simplifying the process of rendering and streaming 3D environments and other visual effects. Now, that's a very fancy statement, but you know what? I'm going to mention it anyways. Now, some people may be wondering, okay, why would these individuals even be incentivized to, contribute their unused GPU power? Why not just leave it alone? Well, it's because actually this whole process, right, by contributing unused GPU power, in this case, they are rewarded by way of Render tokens. So again, Render isn't useless. And not to mention as well, one of the key focuses of Render arguably moving forward is something called AI. And now, when it comes to AI, I get it. People, they're kind of like, oh man, take a look at these AI projects. A lot of them dumped by a lot. But really, it's no stranger to what we saw not too long ago when a whole bunch of projects, had a pretty big dump. Of course, we even saw Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin's having a pretty good recovery, but I'm just saying, these projects that were focused on AI, they weren't alone when it comes to that, right? So I think that really the future of AI when it comes to this space is still very bright. Not to mention, when it comes to Grandview Research, they do predict that the AI market is expected to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030. So it's very wonderful, in my opinion, at least when it comes to this. And now, not to mention as well, when it comes to Render, other use cases do include markets such as augmented reality, mixed reality, gaming, medical, and virtual reality as well. And something that I really am excited for is the blockchain gaming aspect, because blockchain gaming, I think, is going to be the next big thing. Now, granted, many blockchain games out there, they're not sustainable, in my opinion, in terms of the tokenomics. It's out of whack. a lot of blockchain games also out there as of right now. They're really unplayable for me. I mean, graphics are really bad. It's not fluid. It just doesn't feel like a fun game. And on top of that, the cherry on top, right, is bad tokenomics. A lot of play to earn games to me as of right now, it's just not appealing. I think a lot of people would much rather prefer to play something like Batman instead of that, at least from what I've observed. However, even besides that, is it a bad thing? I don't think so, because I think that if anything showcases that, hey, the market is on the rise. And it could be better because if the current options are bad, could you imagine that really the room for, I think, hypothetical improvement may be a lot better than what, worse things could possibly come to it, because it's already kind of bad. So how much worse can it get, right? It can only hypothetically get better in some cases. So the way to take a look at it is that, again, people do usually in this space like the narrative, they like the story, they like what something could be. And when they take a look at blockchain gaming, I think there could be a big narrative here. And not to mention as well, even according to Grandview Research, yet again, because they like to predict things, they do predict that the blockchain gaming market by 2030 is expected to exceed $300 billion. I mean, that's bigger than some countries' GDP. So when I take a look at blockchain gaming, I think it's very impressive. And I think Render, it's not a quote unquote one trick pony. I mean, there's many use cases. However, the way I view it is that Render, again, it's not the most interesting or cool project out there. And usually when people take a look at projects that are focused on AI, at least arguably, they don't really take a look at Render. Or let's say when they take a look at Render, they don't view it as a project that could very well have, implications, or should I say a large impact in places like blockchain gaming. But I think Render is this very underrated project. Fundamentals are A+. I do like the Solana move that happened not too long ago when it comes to it. I think it's pretty much the complete package. And under $50, that's still my price target for this board. Now, why is that? It's because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $78 billion. Now, that's around a 32x from here. It's not too bad, though, the way you take a look at it, because we've seen something like Dogecoin reach over $80 billion in market cap back in 2021. And come on, right? That's a meme coin. Now, I get it. It has a lot of hype, a lot of fans. But again, like I mentioned previously in the video, or should I say in the earlier section of this video, in 2021, during the peak of that bull run, we had nowhere near this many crypto owners. So I believe that when it comes to, as of right now, man, I think the upcoming hypothetical peak of the bull run could be so impressive. And not to mention, we have over 600 million crypto owners currently. This is before a quote unquote, in my opinion, fully fledged fifth gear type of bull run. I don't think we've seen things really into fifth gear yet. So imagine once that does happen, let's say Bitcoin reaches 150,000, 200,000. Now, what would the amount of crypto owners be then? I think arguably it could maybe be greater than right now. How much greater? Only time will tell. But I believe that even currently, as of right now, we have this many crypto owners. Man, this board could be so amazing, hypothetically at least. And I'm paying attention to more so near the end of this year. Only time will tell. However, I'm still staying patient, and $150 when it comes to Render, that's still my price target. And seeing that hypothetically happen this year, that wouldn't shock me whatsoever. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's Mali the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.